welcome everyone, and welcome to this, I guess I would say, a 757 Cosmic Portal event. With me, of course, I have Jedi Joe, president and co-founder of the 757 Geeks fandoms. We have our resident Klingon, Katala, with us, and of course, Priory of the Phoenix historian Simon, and of course, I'm Calibus Rand. So let's talk 40th anniversary edition Star Wars. Return of the Jedi turns 40 May 25th. It ran from, I believe, the 27th or 28th of April until the 4th. Let's just bring this up so we can talk a little bit about the numbers here. The Force is strong with Return of the Jedi anniversary box office. Now check this out. 4.7 million over the weekend. Only on was that $10,000 per $10,300 per screen. When the film first opened back in 1983, 252.5 million. Okay. The film finished with 80 million in ticket sales. Its theatrical run. We're not even gonna go there with that. But this was something that I would definitely like to let everybody know that, you know, it was out there. It wasn't advertised. It wasn't pushed. You kind of had to be in the know. There are certain people that were definitely on it, which was, I want to say, Echo Base on YouTube. They were one of the first people to actually promote it and say, hey, this was going on. And of course, you know, Jedi Joe and I on the 757 Geek fandoms, we were talking about it. And on Cosmic Portal, we were talking about it. Dakar was talking about it in the Priory. This film, this film has a special place for me because as a younger person back then, I was going on 13. We couldn't go the first time out. My dad was in the Navy. He was, you know, in and out. Always when something like this would happen, he was gone. So I had to wait for him to get back from overseas or wherever he was at so I could go see this. And it was the summer that, of course, you know, we're all sitting around, me and my friend, and we're in naval housing. And everybody's talking about this movie, and I can't see it. I'm a huge fan, but I can't see this movie. I'm hearing, you know, things like, oh, you know, I hear that Leia kills Jabba. I'm like, no way, no, you know, I mean, it was that type of movie. What was your first experience about this movie? Let's start with the master himself, Jedi Joe.
Well, wow. That Calibus, you got me a little bit because I'm trying to remember. This is what I do remember. I remember being very, very excited to know that the third movie was coming out and that it was, you know, going to answer some questions from The Empire Strikes Back. But then also the rumor had it back when I remember it coming out that George Lucas was like, this is it. There's going to be no more. So for me, it was bittersweet. You know, I saw it in the movie theaters, maybe at least 2 or 3 times for sure. And it was, you know, it was just a little bittersweet because I knew once I went to go see it, saw the, you know, stuff about it, probably collect as much toys as I could. I kind of felt like that I'm getting ready to lose my best friend. So, like you said, it was a little bittersweet.
Now, see, that's interesting how you would say that, because for me, like you, I kind of didn't really dawn on me that this was it, because the first time that I heard anything about it, Leonard Nimoy had called the movie the new movie Revenge of the Jedi. And I was kind of taken back by that. And I'm like, I didn't think, uh oh, we got Rob Ash joining in from the Imperial Renegade.
What do you
Yeah,
say, Rob?
it was one of those things, man. Like I just I could not think that there was never going to be any more Star Wars. Um,
Hey,
Katala, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, I was going to say that I think that right when Return of the Jedi was coming out for its 40th anniversary, I saw something tagged to it on Google where Lucas originally had it as Revenge of the Jedi, but then he changed the name because he said that that wasn't the Jedi way.
Wait. Yep.
So he turned around and changed the name to Return of the Jedi, which made more sense but I can understand why you have Revenge of the Sith with Anakin. So it's almost like he had that name set aside for something else. Sorry
It's
for
definitely
interrupting.
no, man. I mean, it's definitely that's what we're here for. This is what we do, brother. This is what we do. It's just one of those things, man. Like you said, that it didn't dawn on me. It really didn't until later. But Katala, your thoughts on Return of the Jedi?
I think that's the last movie I saw before I got into boot camp. I went with a girlfriend and we watched the first showing of it before I had to pack and get sent off to boot camp. So it was a good show.
Hey, all right. Sigh.
This is basically my first introduction to Star Wars. With how young I am, it was the first Star Wars movie I saw. Some of my earliest memories, a couple of scenes when the Falcon is chasing a TIE interceptor at the Battle of Endor, and it just misjudges the space and it hits the shields in one of the cruisers and it crashes. And the one scene where the ATST is chasing the Ewoks and shooting and it's hitting the trees and it splinters and you can kind of see it just like fold down where they put the explosive in the tree. And in my head canon at the time, I was trying to figure out how a laser would make it explode, and I realized, oh, the superheating of the water inside the tree would make it explode. And speaking of the poster, if you have one of the originals, Revenge of the Jedi posters, oh, those are worth so much money.
I it really, like I said, when it was over, I was like, kind of hurt like Jedi Joe. It was a thing of the past. But the only thing that really kind of kept everything going was, of course, the fan films and the invention of everybody putting everything on the internet. Now, I will say this as a Trekker, I was highly disappointed on how hard it was to find anything kind of fan made versus anything Star Wars fan made. And to be honest with you, it was a little lopsided in quality because those people that really love Star Wars put a lot. I mean, the lightsaber battle, some of the effects. I mean, Star Wars is what made me go to college. I went to film school, and I wanted to direct. I wanted to do that. And that's why I became a writer. But ultimately, I wanted to direct and do one of those films. But the fan films, kept everything going. Of course, there are tons of now what we call legends and the expanded universe material. And sadly, it wasn't looked upon to use to create the last three movies, but there was just so much stuff, you know what I mean? Versus some of the other franchises that we have. Now, I don't think that makes it any better or whatever else, but I'm just saying the fans really kind of put their heart and souls into keeping Star Wars going up until we got in 1986. It was come see Star Wars for the last time on the big screen. And I was there. I went to the theater to see Return of the Jedi for the last time on the big screen, 1986. I remember it. It was there. It was gone. And then the next thing I know, you know, we had all the little toys and stuff that comes out, and of course the books and everything else. But the film itself, seeing, of course, my favorite, Han Solo, get freed, and Jabba, you know what I mean? But I think the scene that I remember the most, or I enjoyed the most, is when Luke gets flipped off the speeder bike, lands, and you see that speeder come turning back. He raises up and ignites that lightsaber, and I was like, "Oh, that's your ass." I really enjoyed that. So let me do this. Wow. I don't know if we can pay all 2 minutes of it. It's a long video, but oh yeah, we are. We on? Yeah, we're on YouTube, so we won't really do that. I don't want to do that. We'll get flagged. I had the trailer for the video. I mean, for that, I'm going to play maybe just a little bit of it, just a little bit. I think we deserve just a little bit of it. I think we deserve a little bit of it. So let's do this. Let's do this.
Return for the climactic clash between the forces of good and evil. Return to a galaxy far, far away. Return of the Jedi. The next chapter in the continuing Star Wars saga. The battle for freedom rages on.
I just think that right there was, I mean, it was nothing like it at the time, you know, especially now when you look at the movies, how they're being made today. And sadly, there's no originality. They want to go back and borrow the name of a particular IP, and then, you know, here it is. You're going to love this. And then with all the identity politics and all the agendas that go along with it, we don't have that same feel of magic anymore. In the end, there's always that evil thing that is smiling in the background or jumps out at the end, and I'm really kind of saddened to see the way that the world is going, because it's like there's no hope, that they're foreshadowing that, you know, you're going to lose. Evil is going to win. And, you know, that's why people give up, in my opinion. But let's go around and talk about what this movie meant to you and how it makes you feel today. So let's start with Sai.
It's just like, it is the ultimate ending to the Star Wars saga. It was really great seeing everything. And you guys know I'm a huge vehicle fan, and even though I didn't realize this until years later, I thought this was the first scene that you could see ATST. It was actually in Empire, but you see those running through the big huge redwood forests, and it was just awesome. The Ewoks, and there was just a finality to it, especially the very ending. And like Mark Hamill said, it was like closing out your locker at your senior year of high school. It's kind of sad, kind of exciting, but you are just a little nostalgic knowing nothing more is coming.
Jedi Joe.
Well, again, I'm going to slightly piggyback off of what I was saying earlier. It was so excited that the third edition came out, and you know what it meant to me is that this happened. So I remember, seeing and feeling the end of it, like y'all said. But then all of a sudden, friends of ours, we kind of got together and we started thinking, no, we as fans are not going to let this end. So we started sitting down, and I remember me and a good friend of mine at the time, we created characters based off of the people that we had, and real short, like Han Solo and of course Princess Leia had finally gotten married. They had a daughter, which we called Starla Skywalker, I think it was, and then just on and on with different ideas because we didn't want the franchise to really die. It was a part of our lives, and oh man, just looking back on it as a child, it was like losing your best friend, but yet also seeing the end of a saga. And that I might add, and I'm talking as if I was a 16-year-old boy or 13, 14-year-old boy, to see Princess Leia in that slave outfit was pretty darn cool at the time. I mean, just saying.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of my friends and I have another friend who is a big fan. I mean, he's got a garage full of vintage stuff. And on his wedding night at Disney, his wife dressed up for him in that whole outfit. And, that's all he could talk about. He didn't care about anything else. Was that whole thing, Katala, your thoughts on your feelings for Return of the Jedi?
It was enjoyable with the action, and it's nice to see Princess Leia choke out Jabba and get him out of the way, and then the lightsabers and the Sarlacc pit. Those are all interesting and fun, and the Ewoks. Those are nifty little critters. Very handy to have.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. About, I don't know, 3, maybe 4.5 years ago, a friend of mine tells me about the game that I have. I have the new Battlefront game for the PlayStation. And he goes, the Ewoks. Have you played that game on your Battlefront game? I'm like, no. Why would I play with the Ewoks? He goes, well, because the way they ate the stormtroopers and stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you do realize that the Ewoks eat people. And I'm like, no, they don't. He goes, are you not thinking about it? Han was tied up and they were going to cook him. They eat people. And I was like, what? Come to find out, the game is that you're a trooper in the dark on Endor, and the Ewoks are hungry. This is a fun game. I kind of wish I could get a bunch of us to play it one day, but that game does exist where the Ewoks are actually eating people. So I thought that was kind of interesting and upsetting, because sometimes as a fan, you don't think about these things. You're just there for the experience and you're just going with the storyline. You let everything kind of pass your mind without kind of critically thinking through things. It's kind of like when, that thing from Clerks where they start talking about the Death Star and all the people on the Death Star and, getting destroyed and everything else. Because I had a friend of mine tell me that, that the Empire, they're evil. And I go, well, that's a certain point of view, of course, but they were the legitimate ruling body. It doesn't matter how they got there. They're there. You know what I mean? And I said, the rebellion, their only heroes is because they won. That's the fact that makes them heroes is they're won. Now we get to see all the dirty stuff that goes on between Vader killing off people, and we know that's not morally right and everything else, but they were legitimate ruling body, and these little anorexionists came in, destroyed the, and made it collapse, and therefore they're heroes. But had it went the other way, not that I'm an Imperial, and it has nothing to do with them killing off Han Solo in one of the newer movies or anything.
Right.
But I'm up for a little bear hunt. I found that movie it was just such a great movie. The whole thing with the speeder bikes, and of course, seeing going back to Tatooine for the first time. It's not like in Mando where every 3 or 4 episodes we're going back there. This was a big deal in Star Wars. You know what I mean? We go back to Luke's home planet. And then we were introduced to the seedier side of things for the first time. This is the underworld where there's big bad Boba Fett before the special edition, where he's in Star Wars as well. You remember that particular scene where they're in the Falcon and they're making that talk, and he stands there and he kind of like looks around and he walks off. But I thought that it was really cool, the fact that we got to see that. And then, of course, The Mandalorian goes back, and the Book of Boba Fett goes back to where we get to go back to Jabba's palace. We see what happens. You know what I mean? But did you guys know that the Falcon and Lando were supposed to be destroyed, blowing up that second Death Star?
What?
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
I just watched a video talking about that. I was like, what? That would have been.
Yeah, well, it tested poorly. Everybody they didn't like it, so they made him get rid of it. But they were gonna do that because that was the whole thing of, what's the matter? It's like I'm never gonna see her again. Han's looking at the Falcon. He says he's never gonna see her again. And she's like, "Come on, let's go." And they take off. Well, yeah, that whole shooting out of the Death Star scene. The Falcon didn't make it, so they changed it. But again, good storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys got to also remember that Star Wars was definitely for kids.
Yeah.
It's for kids. I mean,
Sure.
I'm a bitter old man. I don't want to give up my Star Wars like the next guy. I don't want to give up my Star Trek either. But we have to make room for the new generation. We have to hopefully give them some type of hope and better understanding of good storytelling, and hopefully we can get that. But the fight scene with the Emperor. Did you guys, how was that for you guys? I mean, well, first Luke turns himself in after revealing another big bombshell, that he learns that Leia is his sister. And he goes and tells Leia that, hey, I've got to go. I've got to face him. I can save him. This is the Luke Skywalker that we grew up with, and I don't know how he gets to this point of sucking on a sea cow on a forest planet that everybody forgot about. But what are you guys' take on this? Luke telling Leia, going to face his father, and then being brought in front of the big bad. Jedi Joe?
I think for some aspect, I think that he knew that might have been the fastest way to get in front of him and to because he seemed like he was on a mission. He seemed like he wanted to save his father because he made a connection with him, of course, in The Empire Strikes Back. And you kind of see that a few times at the very end of the movie where them two are talking through the Force. And the next thing you see that father and son type of interaction, Luke, son, father, that sort of thing. So it was, to me, it was kind of emotional. And I think even in his fighting, he might have been better than what he was in the Empire Strikes Back. But yet, you're not going to fight as hard if you're trying to save somebody. You're going to try to see if you can probably talk him down or change everything. And so it was, I think it was a very important moment for Luke to play into things as much as he could to get as close as he could to the Emperor and to Vader to try to save him. Which, if I was using my imagination, I would probably say that it would have been like 2 against 1, Vader and Luke against the Emperor. But you know, it was a very good scene. I think it was well written. I was getting ready to complain to our guests and say, well, why didn't he be as strong as he was in The Mandalorian? You know, how powerful he was when he came in there and took out everything versus what he was in Return of the Jedi. But as listening to y'all and actually putting some better thinking, and I think that he knew when he was talking to Leia that he had a purpose, and that was to save his father's life and not to kill him, because Yoda and Obi-Wan kind of was putting that in his head. You know, in order for you to be a master or whatever, you have to kill your father. So, yeah, tough call for Luke.
Yeah, and you got to also remember, from the time we see him from the Mandalorian, that's 5 years after he becomes a Jedi Knight in Return of the Jedi. Hence, of course, Return of the Jedi, the title. So we have him actually becoming a full knight, and then 5 years later, now he's a master. I thought that was pretty cool. Katala, your thoughts on the throne room, father, son, and the Emperor?
Emperor was doing his best to try and get Luke mad to turn him. So good thing that didn't work out. But it had to have hurt Luke to see his friends getting killed when he looked out the window and saw the battle. But he saved his father at least. So that's always a good thing.
All right. Sai?
Honestly, I think Luke was probably hoping that Vader wouldn't take him to the Emperor. That right there was gonna push him to come back to, come back to the light. And when he did, and when he didn't, he, like he said, then my father is truly dead, and he kind of resigned himself to his fate. And then when the Emperor tried to force him to cut him down when he was vulnerable, it was like, oh, I see what he's doing. I can't fall for it. I can't fall for the same trap that my father did. And to be honest, there's always that yearning approval of your father, regardless of how bad the situation is or how good the situation is. Just that you really want to see the best in him. And it was a powerful ending, very emotional.
Well, it was always said that George said that the first six, father and son, Anakin's tale of falling, and his son taking on his mantle, and of course Anakin being redeemed. I personally, I just don't think one good act redeems you from all the stuff that you did. The Sand People, when Anakin kills the Sand People, I was kind of like, man, that's okay. I can see you turning into Vader, but dude, that was, I could understand the men. They had your mom, but then when I killed them all. They were animals, and I slaughtered them like animals, and not just the men, the women and children too. I was kind of like, wow, man, that's you've kind of, and then of course he goes one step beyond. He goes back into the temple where he was training or help to train people according to Clone Wars, the cartoon, and slaughters the younglings. Even Obi-Wan didn't want to go back to face Anakin. You know what I mean? That was like my brother. You know, I can't do it. I can't kill him. You know, and I just don't think that just because you throw the Emperor down the shaft, you should be redeemed. That's just me. You know what I mean? It's a great storytelling, but I just I have a little problem with that whole of that being his redemption arc. You know what I mean? Hopefully, though, in Ahsoka, we'll get to maybe kind of explore a little bit more, and maybe you know what I mean, and maybe they'll answer a lot more questions I've never seen before on the screen. Tied up, he walks on head. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's another scene in there too that the Ewoks actually speak English, which freaked me out because they one Ewok says uh he is wise, or he says nothing like, no, he's short. And it took me a minute to actually go back. They're actually talking, you know, well, in that particular scene, which was weird. But for this movie to be re-released 40 years after it was in theaters and still bring in that type of money is a sign that hopefully the executives or the chair people that are watching Lucasfilm and what they're doing say, hey, maybe we need to do something, because I mean, obviously the returning of Luke in The Mandalorian was such a big pull. When I'm sitting there and I just kept saying, well, I know it's not Luke. It must either be Ahsoka or some other. I was thinking it was going to be a female Jedi that we never even heard of. That's what I thought. And then, of course, you know, you see the hand, you see the belt. And like many of you, I'm pretty sure, when I saw the, you know, I'm like, that's Luke Skywalker, you know, and I mean, immediately I was, you know, we got to see this badass Luke Skywalker, this master, you know what I mean, coming in, crushing these Death Troopers. And you know, Mando had trouble with one, and Luke took out a whole battalion of them. And you know, and that was just something so great to see. And of course, you know, dropping the hood, the deep fake. You know, I'm glad they kind of got that together, but it was so much, you know, it was just nice to see Luke Skywalker back and not this washed up guy on this planet who kind of gave up. I think that was one of Luke's greatest traits that he never did. He you know, he went back and he saved his father, and to see him kind of go down that route kind of really hurt. It really kind of hurt. Give me you guys' feelings on that. Who would like to go first? All right, Jedi Joe.
Well, if we're talking a little bit about probably the first scene in The Last Jedi, talking about giving up, I was like, what in the world are they doing? You know, here he is. Ray brings him back the saber that was his, and the next thing you know, he just throws it behind him. That would be like me coming up to one of my students and just, you know, the total disrespect, you know, that comes from out of it. Excuse me. Total different. To me, it just looked like total disrespect. So you could see right then and there he was a broken man, and but you know, and he might have been broken in two parts, being the fact that he failed as trying to rebuild the order, and then of course going into that, and then of course losing his father. But I don't know. That ending and that beginning kind of gets me a little bit. So shows some sort of disrespect. That's probably the first time in my whole entire Star Wars career that I was like, really? I don't know if I'm gonna watch this movie like I want to watch it, because it's almost like it's a kick in the face. It's like, this ain't George Lucas's work or writing, can't be. But tough. It was tough at that time.
Yeah. Katala, your thoughts?
Well, it would be interesting to see what drove him to become like that, a little more backstory, and as to why he treated Rey like that, having her hunt all over that little island for him. So it would take something pretty powerful to make somebody give up.
All right, Sai. I'm sure you have something well worthwhile.
It's very difficult to come to terms with what they did, because in reality, as we get older, we, as an old man, disgruntled man, in reality, that could happen. But Luke Skywalker is one of the mythos heroes that we need, that we look up to, that we really needed. And I really think that there was this whole identity politics thing, especially by a certain producer or director, that wanted to uplift one gender over another, and in order to do that, they feel like they have to destroy him, his legacy, and all the boys that wanted to be Luke Skywalker. I think it was really heartbreaking, just to show that a man who would do anything, even sacrifice himself to try to save his father, and then succumb to a far off influence from the Emperor to suddenly strike down his nephew while in fear. I think that was too much of a stretch.
Powerful. Well, I mean, it's one of those things that they try to see what works and what doesn't work, and then again, a lot of the stuff that was the original stuff that works. I mean, you have to look at season 3 of Picard. Seasons 1 and 2 did not work. Season 3 knocked it out of the park. It's no stranger to you guys that you guys know that Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. Mando is definitely my favorite TV show to date. Now, Ahsoka might change that, but for right now, it's definitely The Mandalorian. Even though season 3 had a few hits and misses along the way, I'm totally fine with them ending it right here, right now, and leaving it alone. I am really happy if they would just do that. I'm not really caring about, I mean, if they give us an episode 4, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping everything will be fine. But right now, I am happy with the way it ended. The man's got his boots up at his little house with his son on a planet of friends. It's all good. You don't really have to do that. You can tell me the Bo-Katan story if I'm going to be honest right now. Jedi Joe, you agree? It's just one of those things where, you had a good run. Let's just leave it alone. Leave it alone. You've had a good run, and let's concentrate on this other stuff. So, my only other thing was, as you guys know, as you guys can see, big collector, love my stuff. I got this from Jedi Joe. I don't know what it is about Han Solo and frozen carbonite, but these are my little things. But I've been recently getting into Ahsoka, and I got me a little bust made by Rice He does his 3D printings and all this stuff, and he does little things like this. And I'm excited to see where things go. Will we get to see Luke in Ahsoka? Some of my I don't want to say some of my sources because I really don't have any sources. Some of my research has shown that I don't think that he's only to be named in name only. I don't know if we're going to get any more cameos with Luke or anything like that, but it's been pretty much said that there is no Luke Skywalker, and if you can drop his name, you can maybe push like a cameo, but he's not to be added to the next ongoing sagas of everything. But it'd be strange not to have him because we've seen him already. I don't know if Dave Filoni is going to get to use him in his new movie, which I'm excited to see, only just to see how everything plays out. The Old Republic movie, I'm really excited to see because I'm hoping it'll have Revan in it. But I can't actually say that I'm excited for anything else. The Acolyte looks kind of interesting from the Sith point of view. I've always, that's, of course, something we never get to see. We never really get to see inside the Sith unless you play, like, say, the Star Wars online game, the Old Republic. There you can actually be a Sith and go through all your trials and, and then explore the galaxy. But overall, guys, would you like to see more of these upcoming who gets look at this. Wow. Let Luke rest. Get out of the wow. Yes,
sounds like Kylo Ren.
Yeah, look, I'm sure your legacy, your new legacy characters like Rey. Oh, wait a minute. Your movies didn't make that much money like the original trilogy movies did. So no one's buying her action figures or Finn's or Poe's. So it looks like Grandpa still should be in business because we're the only one buying your merchandise. Thank you, Facebook user. But that's the name of the game, though, guys. You guys could want what you want, but in the grand scheme of things, it's the money that's going to really come down to what gets made and what doesn't get made. As older fans, yes, I would like you to go on, move on, get some new characters, but make the writing good for enough for us to want to care about the characters and follow the characters. You had a perfectly good character with Finn.
Yep.
You did nothing with him. And then, now see,
yes,
that's what Marky Mark said. He would love to see the Bane story. I would love to see Revan's story. Bane's story would be good too. Or even how Palpatine got to be where he was just before he takes everything. He takes over the Jedi. He takes the Republic. He refashions the Republic into the first Imperial Empire. That is a great story. You know what I mean? We have so much that we could have. Even if they did it anime or animation wise. Now there's a good question. Made by Rice 3D Studios. The strike. What are you guys thinking about that before we end the session? The writer's strike. You still have the Acolyte, which was being in its production stage. I think Skeleton Crew is already done. And I think it's actually shooting everything they've got, but I don't know about the Acolyte. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think, and if I was paying attention to Star Wars Celebration, I would like to hope that Lucasfilms would do this. At least this is what I would do. If I was putting out movies and shows, I would want to make sure that I would hire my writers, directors, and everything. Make sure that they're being paid well, under contract, that sort of thing. So if anything outside of what was going on wouldn't affect them, you know what I mean? Unless it's a big union and they have to do what they have to do. But I also have a little special report for you, Calibus, and for your reviewers, that it's changed me just a little, but I wanted to hear y'all's take real quick. So, to some of y'all that know, I was here in Virginia. We had the Virginia Symphony doing the Night of Star Wars, or the music of Star Wars. So here we are. We're back in the dressing room, and everybody's sort of kind of chit-chatting. One of the things that they brought up is and this is kind of funny, that your character, Kylo Ren, quite a few Star Wars fans that I was with say that he's not dead, that they think that he would be coming back in the next movies with Rey. And then the other one was about Andor. So I told them that I stayed away from Andor, got about halfway through it. It just wasn't for me. And every one of them agreed and said, "Oh yeah, it was boring and everything. But it was a different type of Star Wars." I said, "How's that?" He goes, "It's a drama. It's just a drama. It's not really much about action and everything like that." He goes, "Well, they go. It's almost like I got half of my friends are telling me, don't waste your time." And then every now and then I'll bring that up and I talk to another group and it's like, "Oh, but you at least got to watch it and just live through the drama that they went through." So I feel like I'm like this far from trying it again. And the funny thing is the guy that was telling me about this, he cosplay as oh man, what was his name? He was the head of he was the one of the head guys in Rogue One. He went to Vader to get his approval.
Oh yeah, Krennic.
Krennic, yeah. He plays him. I said, "Oh, so you're a real dirtbag." He started laughing at me. And then we were talking about Andor and we were talking about Rise of Skywalker and that sort of thing. And then a whole bunch of other people got into it. So I just had to take a few minutes to share that with y'all.
Now, the thing was that 15 years later, Rey is older. Ben never died. They have babies, twins. The first child is a female. Her name is Leia, and the boy is Luke. And the boy goes to the dark side, and Luke and Leia has to bring him back over to the good side. No, I'm not paying money for that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I'm not paying money for that. No. They need to come up with another. That's the plot that you heard, that I heard too. And I'm like, there's just no way that, dividing your fan base is a very fickle thing. And again, if people love Andor, that is great. I am glad you found Simon is one of those people.
Yeah, I really liked it.
He really loved it. I personally went through the whole thing. And at the end of it, I was like, that's your big reveal? This is what you come to me with? I was like, no, I can't do this. Again, if you are into storytelling and you want to sit down and you're expecting, like you said, this fast-paced action thing, you're not going to get it from Andor. Now, if you want to go behind some scenes and maybe fall in love with some characters, that would be the way to do it. The only thing is, you know how the character ends up. You know what I mean? It's not like at the Return of the Jedi where we don't know what happens to Han, Luke, and Leia, or with Mando, we don't know. You know what happens to him after End of Rogue One. The only character, to me, the only two characters worth watching in Andor aren't even the two main characters, Mon Mothma and the guy that hires Andor to do the stuff. Those are, to me, are the two most interesting characters there. The rest of them, I could not, man. I can't recommend that to nobody.
Hey, you know what they said also in the dressing room that it was a Star Wars soap.
Yeah,
a Star Wars soap opera. Come on, Cy. I need you to jump in and laugh at that, okay?
Yeah. It was a good spy thriller, but it could have been a little bit more tense or a little bit more actiony. I think a lot of people were hoping it'd be a lot more actiony, and it just wasn't. And it was a good story, just it wasn't the fast pace that a lot of people were hoping and needing.
Now, I tell you what, though. If you, me, and Cy got on together and group watched it, you would have a very good experience. Because me and Simon were tripping out. We're like, did you see that ship? That's a ship from so-and-so. You know what I mean? We could pick out stuff from video games, from the books. You know what I mean? So it with more people there, it's a better experience. It's a better experience versus watching it on your own. You know what I mean? My wife in particular was just like, she just got up and left the room. I'm like, where are you going? She's like, no, I'm not watching that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a bad sign. You know, she loved the Mandalorian. You know, she's like your wife. She's a big Grogu fan, and then all of a sudden she saw Babu Frick, and she was just like, "Oh no, that's the new thing. I need that."
Oh, okay.
So now she's on Babu. Babu, that's her thing. That, and of course, Jedi Survivor, BD1. That droid is like her thing now. She needs a BD1. So
yes. Look,
I think I put one of those things in the Cantino. There's the whole thing where the armorer's eating Cool Whip out of the can, and she puts her helmet on when she gets this call in his den, and they're talking about the Mythosaur, and there's Grogu with the buttons, and it's like, well, how come I didn't know about it? You know, nobody wanted to tell me I'm the last to know about everything, and Grogu hits another button that says, "This is the way." So. But look, guys, I want to thank you for joining me here in the Cosmic Portal today. Of course, Jedi Joe, sir, you are always, welcome to join us on anything that we do. You run the 757 Geek Fandoms, along with, of course, Big L, and you are our Grand Master of the Fraternal Order of the Jedi. And the Fraternal Order of the Jedi is breaking out with their own show in August. Well, you'll be talking about Ahsoka, correct?
Correct.
Great. And of course, we have Katala, our Star Trek Klingon. Thank you for joining us, Miss. And Simon from the Priory of the Phoenix, which is also a Star Wars Mandalorian group of Force users. I want to thank you for joining me today, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Guys, every now and then there'll be a little tidbit that'll come up. I also want to say that on May 25th at 7 p.m., we will be giving away. These things are gonna got popular, Jedi Joe. Another flask that says Return of the Jedi on it and a t-shirt.
Nice.
So the person is going to get a 40th anniversary t-shirt that says Return of the Jedi and a drinking flask. You have to be a subscriber to our YouTube channel to win. Okay?
It's kind of funny. I heard I was overhearing your comment and then different people posting up saying, "You mean nobody's claimed it yet?"
Yeah.
I was like, there must be some damn fools not wanting to claim free stuff,
Look,
quality stuff.
you and I went out and bought one. As soon as
Oh
he
yeah.
showed it to me, I was like, I need one. I need one. Rodney Santos, I need one. I was like, I need that. That from the Three Luchadors Trading Post. We got that, and immediately you messaged me and you're like, yeah, I need one, and you went and got yours, and we got them on the same day. So
oh, speaking of something, if I could, for a plug, and I think he's watching. So to our viewers and to Mr. Rice himself, I just made a purchase from 3D Prints from Rice, and I got him in. Actually, he was very nice enough to check on me to make sure that I had gotten them. Threw in a couple of little extra things in there for me and my wife, and they were amazing. And I don't want to tell exactly what it is because it might spoil it for some of my students, but they will be prizes for my next tournament within the next few months. But he did a great job, very easy to work with, and will fit your budget. So thank you, Mr. Rice, for what you did for me. And the wife likes the stuff as well. So you got a future. You got a future partner, you got a future customer right here in Virginia.
I hear that. Yeah, man. I too got some stuff. Woo! Can you believe this?
Oh, nice.
I mean, I want to cosplay with it, but I gotta be honest when I tell you this, man. If somebody bumps me and knocks this out of my hand and it hits the floor, I'm gonna go crazy. So I'm just gonna hang it up in the office. But I mean, it fits in the palm of the hand. It's con safe. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what a cosplayer told me years ago. Buy it in pairs. So you have one for yourself and then one for your cosplay. So then if something happens, there you go. And that was another thing that I got advice on over the weekend when I was at the event is that, you know, and this is funny. So all of the people that the Cosmic Portal and of course 757 talks about, and these are small businesses online, is that once you get good friends with a 3D printer or someone that does it and it's very affordable, stick with them because that will make all the difference in your cosplay.
Yeah.
And I was told that by someone that she has at least 8 Star Wars characters, including the one that you and Katala saw at GalaxyCon, and that was the Jedi Temple Guard.
Ooh, yeah.
She was there with me at the May the 4th, and she was sharing with me her we call it Praetorian Guard.
Mm-hmm.
All of it, besides the shoes, was
3D
all 3D printed, including her helmet.
Wow.
And she goes, the first thing I did was buy the boots. I know some people that can sew, and then I got my 3D printed stuff done, and I painted them. I was like, oh my gosh. So, yes.
Well, I definitely got some stuff working for my Mando suit. I got Paul's working on most of my stuff. So I was like, yeah, you know, I'm glad that Katala found them out and got them into the group and stuff. Because man, I'm telling you, this was one of my little favorite things that he did. Got a little Mega Man. Look at this stuff, man. I mean, the hands and stuff move effortlessly. It looks good. He's like my little mascot, my little Mega Man. I keep him right up here, overlooking.
Hey, I'm throwing this out there for Cy too because he said something that I'm also into as well. So Cy likes the vehicles and everything. You imagine your small little collection of
I know, right?
like the Star Destroyer, of course, the Millennium Falcon, this, that, and the other, Slave One. So, Paul, if you're listening, get that thing ready to go. I need some of that next.
Well, look, I mean, he says right here that he can make a permanent seal on the blasters, because you have to have that when you do a con. You have to have that stuff. It's got to be that con safe. Oh, Marky Mark. Oh. Well, Mark, man, it's always going to be another time that we can get you on here, Marky Mark. But again, guys, I want to thank you all for showing up with me and doing this tonight. And I want to thank Made by Rice 3D Studios for everything that they have done for us and the 757 Geek fandom. Of course, Mr. Rodney Santos, as we come through and doing another giveaway. I had a guy that asked me, he didn't want his Luke Skywalker Heir to the Empire figure. He wanted a flask. I told him, I said, I could do that for you, but it's going to take a lot more time. He's like, I don't care. So I might have to throw that in with the t-shirt. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to talk to the car about it. We'll see what we can do. But guys, we're going to be having giveaways throughout the months coming up. And I don't know. I think towards the fall, the 757 always has this nice big food drive that they're doing and stuff like that. And we'll be doing all kinds of giveaways with that as well. And then, of course, there's the angel trees, the Christmas things that we try to do. So stay with us and help out, those less fortunate than yourselves. And you might get a little prize from us in return. So, guys, with that being said, it's time to close the portal. I want to thank you all again. And thank, Made by Rice 3D Studios, of course, 3 Luchadors Trading Post, and of course, Jim Augustine. What does this also have tips? All my blasters, federal guidelines. Oh, okay. So it has to be done like that because it's a federal thing. Okay. All right, Marky Mark, you have a good one, guys. I will talk to you the next time we open up this portal.